Hello, ladies and gentlemen, or just ladies, or whatever it is you want to be called nowadays, you crazy people. This is Yuffie from, Reaper Games. So today, I'm going to talk a little bit about good horror game design. Why? Because we don't have enough of it, and I think it's a subject everyone can grow from. Quote, air quotes, grow from. So, question is, what makes a good horror game? A dozen factors make a good horror game, but that's not where we're here to discuss the main things. A dozen factors because every horror game is fucking different. The main factors is you need three, and I cannot stress this enough. Three main things in a horror game. You need the environment, you need music, and you need oh god, what is it? I had it in my brain. You need environment, atmosphere, and music. And I guess a scary monster, but that's part of the environment. Basically, when it comes to music, I can take a page from a game called Amnesia. Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Amnesia had a beautiful soundtrack, but so did, I know a lot of go, but Resident Evil had a good soundtrack too. Hey, why aren't you saying shit about Resident Evil? Blah 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 blah. Well, the reason why I'm not saying anything about Resident Evil is because Resident Evil did have a good soundtrack, but Amnesia had a better soundtrack, so to speak. They had a very good soundtrack because of the main fact that like at certain times you would get these instances where it's just like, is the monster coming for me? Is it not coming for me? Is it going to eat my face? Like, it would have instances where the music would just go off for no apparent reason. There'd be no monster in the fucking room, but you need music. You need music that basically tells the play, that basically like creeps the player out to the point where it's just like they don't know what to fucking expect. They don't know whether the monster is coming, going, staying, killing someone in the near future, or doing something else. One of the main things that makes, like, that's one of the things that makes a game scary. The other thing is environment and atmosphere. Atmosphere is easy to do because you can make the actually it's not that easy because we can take a page from Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame tried to do the whole ghosty atmosphere gibber thing, but it didn't work out because their atmosphere wasn't spooky enough and it wasn't good enough, and like it was just don't get me started on their atmosphere. It was just terrible. It was good, but it wasn't the type of good you would expect from a video game. Like, it was one of the like the atmosphere was fine. It was fine. It could have worked, but then you have to think about like the whole environment aspect, which is why you're there, the objective, and like the result of that objective. In Fatal Frame's case, like Amnesia, it was straight fucking forward. You need to get these items, but like it was so close by each other that it was straightforward. So the player didn't have to worry about going like 100 mile, like half, like across the map, just so they could get something out of it. It was and it was very good, and they did a very good job on it. But one of the main things one of the main things of that game was the main fact that, well, if we don't do it was the main fact that it was the main fact in Fatal Frame that you had to, like, it would tell you you have to go from here, from point A to all the way to point B across the fucking map, past all this convoluted shit. And we're not going to tell you need to go back here. You got to figure that shit out on your own. In Resident Evil 1, it was sort of an idea of, well, you will have to come back to this place eventually, but you wouldn't have to. You don't have to do it right now. You will come back here eventually, but by then you'll have all the pieces to the fucking puzzle. And like, for instance, in one instance of Resident Evil, you get this little medallion thing early on, and then after you find this little case thing. And if you expect the case, it had a little round hole where a medallion would go. So it would go, oh, well, I have a medallion, let's try it out, see what happens. And then you try the medallion, opens up, and you find, oh, there's the piece I needed for the final door, or for like this thing. And it had like, and it encouraged you to go to other rooms, but the soundtrack made it so that it was so eerie. They didn't have very good environment aspects to it, and the atmosphere wasn't exactly the best in the world, but it was decent for a PS1 title. But so they had to go really based off of almost the new gen at the time graphics and sound, which helped them out a lot because they had a very good sound design to them. And when you think about sound design, people are like, oh, well, sound design is atmosphere. Well, it's not. The atmosphere is basically like Amnesia, where everything was dark. You got the sense that you were in the dark, that you were in darkness. It's not the environment that scared you. It's the aspect that if your lantern goes out, you will be barely able to see, and you will go insane. Atmosphere is more of a game design than an actual environment design, and the music is sound design instead of gameplay design mechanics. But let's just say, figuratively speaking, what could make a perfect game? I've played a lot of horror games. I've played good horror games, I've played terrible horror games, and I've played decent horror games, and the list goes on and on and on. But I've never actually created a game, so this is just what I think would make an almost perfect horror game. Basically, to make a perfect horror game, you would need perfect music, which indicates that, yes, the monster is here. The monster is here to kill you. And it's here to do all these things, and you gotta defend it, and jabur, right? Well, one of the things that the music would have to do is actually, perfect horror music design would be Amnesia. They have almost perfect horror music design. I would want their music aspect from Amnesia in the game, because they know how to do it. Like, the music just hits you when the time needed, and the music is all eerie, and it makes you feel uncomfortable because, like, it's just eerie. It's an eerie tone, and you don't know what's going to happen next. And for atmosphere, I would actually take a lot from Amnesia, because it would be dark. Like, for instance, there's a game, I can't remember, a YouTuber is playing, I think Markiplier is playing it right now. I can't remember exactly what the game is called. Hector. It's called Hector. And in Hector, it's basically the same setup. It's dark, it's broody, and you can't see much. But in that design, your vision goes wonky if you don't have pills, and like, monsters will appear and disappear. For a perfect horror game, I would take that aspect, like that atmosphere, the combined atmosphere of Amnesia: The Dark Descent and Hector, and then just mash them together into one messed up, convoluted child of horror, and just put that in the game. And then you have to go, oh, well, what about the environment design? Well, the environment design would be straightforward. Like, when you think about environment, what comes to your first mind? Is it something that, like, oh, it's an objective based, or is it like, you gotta explore to find all the things, da 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 da? No. When I think of environment, I think of a I sort of think of it as like comparing it. I think of comparing it to like other designs. Like in Resident Evil, the environment design was just, it was a fucking mansion. That's it. It was a mansion, and you had to go through it. Amnesia had a environment design where basically you would see something in the distance, but you wouldn't know what it was. Now, I would take from that, because it's also in Hector, and you would take from both of them. And like a horror game is legitimately meant for you to doubt yourself. Like you should be able to walk into a room if you're out of like light, or if you have light and it's just pure dark, and you see out of the distance, you see a shadow, and you've already know of a monster that can kill you, and you're looking at it, and you're like, is that a fucking monster, or is it something else? And you're doubting yourself because you don't know exactly what it is, but you're too afraid to go investigate. And then when you investigate, you feel like a fucking idiot because it was a goddamn chair, or it was a stool or something, or a stool with like a lamp on it, or some stupid thing like that. But that's horror. It's supposed to make you feel like an idiot because you are one. Like, you're supposed to think, what is this thing going to do to me? Is it the monster, or is it just a piece of furniture? And that's the point of horror. It's meant to make you doubt yourself, make you not want to continue because it's too scary and you don't want to go. A good example of this would be Vanish. Vanish did a very good job of this, even though apparently it was fucking annoying as hell. But they did a very good job of this in the early game, because like it was just like, I don't want to go. I hear all these sounds. I saw the monster. The monster was gonna get me, and I don't want to go. Now, a lot of people go, well, a monster gets boring after a while. Well, that's when you take the aspect of Left 4 Dead's dungeon master or game master or whatever it's called. And basically, you have the game master do crazy shit. Where basically, like, one level, he pops out all fucking every 10 fucking minutes or something. And then at the other one, like, after you get comfortable with that, he just fucking vanishes out of nowhere. You hear him fucking going all over the place. You hear him in the fucking background. You don't know where he is. You see his shadow run past, but he doesn't fucking acknowledge you. And like, he just starts running around. And you hear him, but he never shows up. And you don't know if he's gonna show up and just fucking murder you. And a good way of and one of the good games that I saw that I've played is Dread Halls. Now, a lot of people go, oh, you can't play Dread Halls without Oculus Rift. You can, but it's sort of not really scary. But if I had an Oculus Rift, I could see the scare value in it because it was dark, your candle constantly was going out, and there was monsters that, like, the gargoyle monster that just sits there until he sees you, and then he starts fucking moving everywhere, and then after, when you're looking at him a while, he fucking looks at you. You can see him look at you. That's unnerving as shit, man. I fucking got spooked when that shit happened. Like, I am not an easy person to scare. I am a horror veteran. I am not an easy person to unnerve and scare. And that shit scared me. Like, it was looking into the face of fucking death, for God's sake. I thought I was gonna fucking die in real life. I really did. That fucking game, even though I wasn't wearing Oculus Rift, and I had to concentrate on one, and I had to zoom it out into one screen, that shit unnerved the fuck out of me. Like, even though, like, in my head, I knew, yeah, okay, it's not an actual monster that's actually going to kill me, but, like, it was like, oh my fucking God, I'm going to die, this thing's going to kill me, because I fucking looked at it. And when you get that instance of a scare it's actually really unnerving because it's just like, what am I supposed to do at this point in time? Like, I didn't want to fucking go through with it, but I played it until I fucking completed it. I played it until I completed it. And, like, it was just like, what do I do? And it was just like, I don't want to fucking go through with this, but I have no fucking choice. And it just became a very, very scary time. And it was just, this is a good horror game. Because I was scared. I was legitimately scared. And it is just like, and horror games can be compared into like into like three categories: a good horror game, a bad horror game, and a horror game that just doesn't fucking try. And that's one of the main basic things. Like Dread Halls did a very good job. But what you do is you take the monster and you take it and you make it stay in the background. You make it stay in the background until to a point where the player is able to see the monster in an actual light, and then you make the monster as fucking creepy and scary as you fucking possibly can. You make it as scary as you possibly can, and if you do that, I guarantee you, people are not gonna want to fucking play. People are not gonna want to fucking, this monster, I don't wanna. Like, it turns into a whole fest where it's just like, I don't really want to freaking go against them, but I have no choice. I don't have any feasible choice in the matter. And like, that's a good horror game. Like you would need to make it so that the objectives are easy. Like, find this shit, or just like wander the halls until you find your objective. That's perfect. Just keep wandering till you find the exit, and it's just like, And what would make it even better is if you mixed procedurally generated maps with the game master, so that the game master constantly, like, one area he'll pop up out of nowhere, and next area you'll fucking be dead. And you just hear noises, and and it makes it so those noises are actually a thing. Like, there's more than one monster, but, like, the noises are actual things, and it's just like, you don't know when he's gonna strike, you don't know what's gonna happen, you don't know if he's gonna kill you out with a giant fucking claw, just claw your face off. Like, a good horror game is a horror game that can make you literally cry. Like, literally. Like, you just break down crying because you can't fucking do it. Because it's too scary. Because it just terrifies you. You feel like a game should make you feel like you're in mortal danger, even though you're not. That is the perfect horror game. The perfect horror game is something that can make you feel like you're in mortal danger, but you're not. But in reality, you're not. But you feel like you're in mortal danger. You feel like you're the character that's about to get fucking maimed by this creature, but you don't know when. You don't know where this creature is. Now, a game that recently that came out a few months ago. I can't remember when it came out. Alien, the new fucking Alien game. That game did a very good job of making it so that the alien randomly popped out of nowhere. You didn't know when the alien would pop out. But it sort of overdid it because you were constantly being hunted instead of it giving you a break. Like, you give the player a sense of break, and then after, randomly, you don't let it be known, you randomly fucking get the monster to hunt out for them, and it's just like, but I thought I got rid of him. I thought I got rid of him. Didn't he just, like, go away for a while and give me some peace of fucking mind? Like, you make it so the player gets into a state of relaxation, and you make it so that he's relaxed for a few minutes, and then the monster just comes fucking back, and it's just fucking terrifying because you're just like, fuck, I wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. Like, that makes a good horror game. That is a horror game that you can actually like I said, a horror game should scare the living shit out of you to the point where you cry for your mother. Like you cry, you don't want to play the game anymore because it's so scary, but you want to play the game to see what fucking happens. Like a horror game does not need fucking story. That's a misconception and a fucking half. A horror game does not need a reliable story. As far as a horror game needs, it needs you or this dude that fell in this hole and now you just have to find your way out. That's it. Unlike fucking oh god, it's that fucking terrible fucking horror game, Dead Evil or something. Like fucking convoluted shit. You're in a dream that's in a dream that's in another dream. Fucking Inception. What? So what? You when you got knocked out, you put into this dream, and now this world's gonna fucking flip on its head, and you have to fight a giant brain. What? What kind of bullshit story is this? Like, stories don't need to be fucking convoluted. You know what Resident Evil 1 story was? You're a fucking team that got trapped by fucking zombies in a fucking mansion. Find your way out. And then later on, they started adding a little bit to the story, but it was just like, oh, it's a fucking corporation that's been doing bioterrorism or fucking some shit. The story wasn't so convoluted that it was just like, but like, you didn't need to know the story to know what the fuck's going on. You did. You didn't need to know what the story was to know what the fuck's going on. That's not the point of the fucking horror game. Horror games are like that, or for freaking puzzle, mystery, and action games. Well, adventure games. That's the only reason why you would need to know the story. You wouldn't need to know the story on anything fucking else. Evil Dead or whatever the fuck its name is. Like, that horror game pissed me off. That was a horror game that pissed me right fucking off. And Resident Evil 6 also pissed me off. Because those two games were not horror. They did not deserve the horror title. A horror title should be able to at least make me nervous to fucking play it. Like, make me nervous and uncertain whether or not I should be calm about this. Recent horror games are not horror games. They're survival action. They're action shooters. Like, Resident Evil Revelations 2, okay, yeah, it has some horror aspects. It did give me a few good jump scares. But, nah, it's still, like, Resident Evil 6-ish. It didn't do a good enough job to scare me and unnerve me. It just, like, it has some horror factors from fucking Resident Evil 1, which are fucking outdated, but they're still pretty good, but they're fucking outdated. Like, even Resident Evil 1, like, come on. Like, Resident Evil 1 was fine for its generation. For when it went out. For the year it was in, it was a really good horror game. Nowadays, you gotta step that shit up. You can't have that bullshit tanky controls anymore. Tanky controls are not fucking scary. They're annoying as fuck now. Like, that's also one of the things that makes a good horror game. You can have fluid controls, just have something that slightly compromises it, not to the point where it's a fucking annoying, but just to the point where it's scary. Like fucking Hector. Hector, you have sweet fluid controls, but you don't take your medicine. Your vision goes all fucking wonky, and you become fucking slightly disorientated, so it's fucking scary. It's not annoying, it's scary. And if a monster pops out, oh, your vision goes all fucking wonky, and it's scary. Fucking tanky controls are not fucking scary. It's fucking annoying. But yeah, this went from a talk about to a fucking rant in like half a minute. I'm sorry. This has been Yiffy from Reaper Games. I'm done. Now you know what could possibly make a perfect horror game. I'll see you later. I'm out.